Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a snowy Klockner Stadium here in Charlottesville, Virginia. I'm William Fauché, joined alongside by Doug Terring here on the ACC Network. And Doug, a historic matchup ahead of us today.
This has been an outstanding non-conference series. The start of 2016, the teams have played 6 games, Virginia winning 2, winning 4, and 166 goals between the two teams.
But what makes this matchup today particularly special is the premier lineup of attackmen that we're going to see on the field.
Well, of the nine attackmen selected in the preseason All-American, we have 3 today. On first team, Connor Schellenberger. On second team, Matt Moore. And from High Point, on the third preseason team, Asher Nolte.
And Connor Schellenberger, what can't he do? 37 goals and 42 assists as only a freshman, Doug.
The outstanding player in the national finals last year in his first full year of lacrosse at Virginia. A tremendous player, both hands, and has the ability to both score and feed.
And, of course, Matt Moore's experience going to be what the offense relies on if things start to get shaky. We know Virginia has talent, but they're not the only team bringing it today.
Well, Matt Moore back for his 5th year, a captain of the team, a great honor for him, has been a leading scorer, was a first-team All-American, and again, Matt Moore brings stability and the experience to the Virginia lineup.
And High Point has a couple weapons of their own that they plan on using.
Well, Asher Nolte is one of the top attackmen in the country. Coach Tiffany referred to him as almost unguardable. Scored the winning goal in overtime against Colgate on Friday night. He is their leader and their leading scorer.
You said it, Doug. High Point coming off an overtime win against Colgate on Friday. They're coming into this game with a lot of momentum. Virginia needs to come out and make a statement early.
Well, the question is for High Point is, the fact that they did play a very tough and competitive game against Colgate on Friday night. If you are Coach Torpey, the one thing you don't want to see Virginia do is get a big lead early.
And Virginia, of course, trying to come back from their start in their first game in which they went down 0-3 in the first quarter.
Well, that might have been a good wake-up call again. That even the players that I talked to said they were nervous coming into the first quarter of the game, obviously with all the build-up from 2021 National Championship. So for them, the first quarter was a little bit of a tough start, but then they went out and outscored Air Force 17-3 in the second and third quarter.
And it looks like Virginia is going to get off to a hot start here, a face-off win, and now the men in white are on offense.
Pete LaSalle is the key for Virginia, as he always is. Can High Point neutralize Pete LaSalle's ability to dominate at the X? And
Virginia's ability to consistently apply pressure through possession can really be devastating to teams.
Well, when Pete LaSalle gets on a run, it's very difficult for teams to play catch-up. So it's important for High Point to use all 3 of their face-off men and try to at least neutralize Pete LaSalle.
High Point looked like they were about to be doing some running of their own on a broken down fast break. Instead, they'll get their subs on and settle up the settled offense.
Virginia turnover at their end to start the game. And again, one of the things that the High Point coaches talked about is watching how Virginia was able to use their 10-man ride and break up Air Force possession. So for High Point, the clearing game is going to be crucial.
Virginia meeting the first dodge with some good defense, trying to fight for the high side. And look at the communication there by Virginia, Doug. Not surprised to see an early double team come into play.
Yeah, just real nice individual defense on a wet field. Great save right
there. Dangerous pass into the middle. And a fantastic play by the goalkeeper standing up strong.
Well, Brendan Maillet is an outstanding inside player, had 5 goals against Maryland in their game last week, and so he is a real player inside from Canada. Virginia talked about his ability to catch in traffic and finish.
Not the only Canadian that we will see on the field with excellent skill today. Peyton Cormier for Virginia as well. The Virginia defense still trying to shut things down. There's the step down shot, ricochets off, and now Virginia fighting for the ground ball in the far corner.
If you're Virginia, you've got a first-year goalie in Matt Nunez, and he makes 2 big saves early. That's important in the confidence, and also the fact that, if you're High Point, you want to try to get good shots on a young goalie and try to see if you can get to his confidence, and Matt Nunez came up big twice.
We talked about how High Point needed to be effective in their clearance. So far, it's Virginia with an unforced turnover and a broken down clear.
Matt Nunes was the #1 goalie recruit coming out of Texas. Again, obviously a difficult position to be a starting goalie in your first year, but he has an excellent defense in front of him and, of course, a high-powered offense. So last week with the Air Force, 8 goals allowed, 8 saves, but he certainly did what he needed to do in his first collegiate start.
Now Virginia trying to communicate through the defensive stand. Swinging it around, it's Saustad on ball.
And that'll be a great matchup.
And a high shot, high goal, and it's High Point who comes out to Klockner Stadium and open things up against the #1 team in the nation.
Mike Ippolito from the right-hand shooter's wing. Again, good ball movement by High Point, and they were able to go ahead and take advantage of the shot clock with the new rule this year. A couple saved by Nunes, and obviously from 80 to 60. So again, just a typical great look by Asher Nolding over top of the defense. Perfect placement in the upper corner. That's what Asher Nolding does so well. He can not only be an effective scorer, but he has great vision and a nice pass across the top of the defense.
You could see High Point working for that right corner shot throughout those early offensive possessions. They lost the ball on a broken down clear, get it right back, and find the first goal of this game here in Klockner Stadium. And now it's LaSala trying to fight for the ground ball. Loose, it'll go to the pole.
We're gonna have a flag down right there. It's going to be a push, but Virginia will get a chance to play man up.
It'll be a push with possession. A big opportunity for Virginia to answer here on the man up. It will be charged to number 14, Connor Giltnan. And with it, High Point going to bring out their man-down defense for the first time this afternoon. More than likely won't be the last.
Well, the Virginia extra man, a little bit different this year. Obviously, you lose Ian Laviana, who was so effective inside, not taking the top. So you might want to look for the shots coming primarily from certainly from Connor Schellenberger, but Peter Garno with the big right-hand ripper is able to go ahead and convert. So Virginia has multiple people on offense that can score and man up. Right now, it looks like Virginia's going to start in a 1-4 set, but I would imagine they will start moving people around as the play develops.
And if you're High Point right now, your biggest concern has got to be #1 behind the goal, Connor Schellenberger, because dollars to donuts, if he's not going to score, he's going to be the guy making the assist.
Well, at this end of the field, obviously Parker Green, a huge part of the High Point defense. He's played very well in the 2 games so far this year. It's going to be key for him to be able to play well early.
Now the first man-up possession for Virginia. 1 minute on it.
Now Virginia changes sets.
There it is, step-down shot, low bounce, outside, tipped off the stick of a High Point defender, and it'll stay with Virginia.
And you'll get a 60-second reset because the ball hit the goalie stick.
Fortunate for the Cavaliers with 38 seconds remaining on the penalty. They go to the same spot. There's another shot, loose in the crease, but corralled, and it will be High Point, setting up a clear man down.
An outside shot by Peter Garno. That's the shot that Virginia wants to take, but credit Parker Green with the big save, all stick side. Confidence booster for him, obviously, stopping Virginia's man up.
And not only that, but 2 step-down shots from right in front of the goal, dangerous, and defended well by High Point as they now bring the ball into the offensive end, and with 9 seconds left are going to be able to kill the rest of this penalty.
If you're High Point, every win in situations, whether it's on offense or defense, that gives them confidence. This is a game that they expect to win. And talking to the coaches, they're not here just to be respectable. They're here to win a game. They've shown they can beat some of the top teams in the country. They've beaten Virginia twice. They beat Duke in 2019. They were the only team in 2019 to beat 2 Final Four teams.
Now looking to set things up on the offensive end again, leading 1-0 and comfortable at that. Moving it around to X. Now it's Rizzo trying to find the top side. He'll go down the right alley and back around. There's the pass, dump shot, saved, ricocheted off. It's going towards the outside, and in a foot race, it will be Maya who ends up with possession despite a valiant effort from Mitchell Whalen for the Cavaliers.
So much conversation on High Point's attack about Nolting and Maya. Jack Vederbeck is an outstanding third attackman. In fact, in the Inside Lacrosse preseason rankings of attack groups, High Point was ranked number 10 and Virginia ranked number 1. So this is not just an individual situation. This is an outstanding unit at High Point.
Jeff Connor marking his man well. Now back up top. It's up to the Cavaliers and Peel. Two-man game with the invert. A good hedge there by Peel. Got to close out the hips. And Saustad almost gives one up there. Doug, you've got to do a better job of protecting GLE if you're Kate Saustad right there, particularly with an attackman of that skill.
Well, Knowlton just using his size and strength gets the inside, but again, just enough of a check on the hands that causes the ball to go wild.
There's the skip pass, low to low, read by Nunez perfectly. And now Virginia trying to get the ball up and out. It's Jeff Connor. Excuse me. No, it is Connor. Connor has it. He settles, pulls it out. And now head coach Lars Tiffany going to make the necessary adjustments to get his offense on the field.
So right now with that first midfield group, you've got Jeff Connor, Griffin Schutz, the outstanding #1 recruit in the country from Trumbull, Connecticut. And, of course, then you're going to also have Xander Dixon, and they score.
And the Cavaliers answer one back and bury it in the back of the net. It's a low-to-low shot from who else but number 24, Peyton Cormier.
Well, Virginia was actually still substituting, so they were playing offense with 5 players. Xander Dixon was still trying to get in the game through the box on the substitution, but just in some ways a little bit unsettled for the High Point defense. And again, it all started with Griffin Schutz dodge. He creates some space. And Peyton Cormier shoots a low hard one right under Parker Green's stick.
And it's his ability to draw that first slide that opens Cormier up with just enough room to be able to bury that one in the back of the net. Would you like to see a change of planes? Absolutely. But a goal's a goal, and the Cavaliers will take it as they tie it up at ones with 8:37 remaining.
And that low shot on the damp field is the best shot, a three-quarter side-on release. Nice ground ball there by Scott Bauer. So Virginia so far 3 face-off wins.
Dixon into the game now. He's got one on him. Thought about going there for a second. Instead, he's going to carry it around all the way to the back corner and set something up for himself.
This is a typical Virginia offense. They like to invert Xander Dixon, of course, an outstanding former attackman in high school. They play what they call a little man, big man behind the goal. He really does create some tough matchups for the defense. Xander Dixon has great eyes. So don't be surprised that you will see a lot of invert offense coming out of Virginia today.
Showing him off there. A great pass threaded through the middle to Griffin Schutz. Make sure you watch Connor Schellenberger here on the invert. He's going to look to pop out and get a pass there from Dixon for an easy dump.
So again, that trying to get that pick, maybe get the short stick to switch.
Schellenberger carrying his man up top. Good move to create space. Slide. And a slip up on the slide, but nobody there to back up the shot from Virginia. It will go back to High Point.
Well, you can see Xander Dixon expecting maybe Connor to be looking down inside. It already started to make a front swing from X, and of course, when the shot went over his head, no backup. The closest was the goalie, so High Point will get a chance to get the possession.
Now looking to make the most of it, getting their subs on. 58 on the shot clock.
You know, Hanover Beck is an outstanding third attackman. As I said before, so much attention to Maya and Knowlton, and he is certainly capable. So again, you know, he is also a matchup Virginia has to be conscious of.
Now watch for a pop-up off the crease here. As soon as that slide goes, Virginia going to have to communicate through this one. Fake screen down the middle, top side, and a great save made by the Virginia Cavaliers and Nunez. And now they're off to the races again. Lost the ball, and it's High Point. A second failed clearance from the Virginia Cavaliers, Doug. Certainly not what we expected from this Lars Tiffany team.
Well, so much attention paid to the Virginia ride. Coach Tiffany said that that's something that High Point does very well against teams so far. They have shown the ability to ride hard on a save, and that's exactly what they get. They get a turnover. And again, if you're High Point and you're getting through the first quarter and it's 1-1, you've got the kind of pace of the game that you want.
We said that the biggest thing was that High Point came out and did not let Virginia run away with it. They certainly have not. 1-1, and now looking to set up for a potential second goal.
And again, much like running a little bit of what we call a big man, taking it short behind, trying to run a pick at X.
Good piece of defense there. No slide coming. Looked like he might have found the inside, but it's Cade Sawstad who gets the ground ball, rolls the space, and now the keeper's out. Dangerous situation. Here's Nunez fighting for the ball. Still loose. Cade Sawstad going to pick it up as Nunez recovers back to goal, and a great find on the other end of the field to set up Virginia's clear.
Yeah, Matt Noon's lucky because Asher Nolding had gotten the ball on the ground. It was just a goalie and an attackman fighting for the loose ball, and Sawstad came over and was able to help. And Virginia was fortunate to be able to get the ball out to their offensive end.
The freshman certainly thanking his veteran defenders right now.
And that just shows what a great player Asher Nolding is. He does everything in his game.
And now Virginia doing it all on the offensive end. Buries it in the back of the net on the one-man drive. No slide, no problem.
Griffin Schutz, the freshman. Big goal right there. Just comes down left-handed and is able to bounce it by the goalie. Not much power on the shot, but he's able to go right-handed and finish.
My fingers and I do this to make a living. Into it. Turbo. See them. Okay.
The snow has stopped here in Charlottesville, Virginia at Klockner Stadium just in time for some fantastic Division I men's lacrosse action. It's the Virginia Cavaliers that lead High Point University 2-1 here on the ACC network. I'm William Fauché, joined alongside Doug Terring. Doug, few matchups more exciting historically than what we've seen between High Point and Virginia.
You know, we talked about in the opening what a competitive series this has been between two non-conference teams that started in 2016. High Point won the first game here at Glockner in sudden death overtime. Won a game here 14-13, and as I said before, it's been both high scoring and very competitive.
And it's the Virginia Cavaliers making it competitive early out of the break. Trying to fire one into the back of the net, but unable to do so was Peyton Cormier again, and now he drops back on the ride.
Yeah, Pete LaSala so often wins the face-off clean forward and goes
a big-time save there.
Yeah, Matt Noon's really on his game early. Again, just so important for a young goalie to get into a nice rhythm, and he certainly has. I mean, good shot placement by High Point, and he's been able to make big saves.
And even throughout early in this first period, this is a different young man in goal than we saw open up the game on Friday.
Right, well, you would expect a young goalie playing on the #1 preseason team to be a little bit nervous. And so, obviously, again, one of the things that he brings is confidence. They talk about the strength that he has in the clearing game, and he's made some big saves early.
High Point in a zone defense now. Virginia trying to take advantage of it. Rotating around, you can see one man still on the crease.
Yeah. Coach Torpey likes to change defenses possession to possession. They will give Virginia a combination of man-to-man, some different looks in the zone, mainly just to go ahead and make Virginia have to adjust each time they come down the field. So right now, Connor Schellenberger with the short.
Schellenberger had to work hard to get the ball with the short stick on him. Now going to try to take advantage. Slip on a slick field. There's the inside pass. Trying for the turnaround shot. Doesn't go, but it will stay with Virginia at the stick of Matt Moore. And it's not very often that you see Connor Schellenberger being the one doing the falling.
Well, again, you got a little bit of a soft field behind the goal.
And a big-time hit there on Matt Moore, Doug. How about that?
Well, Matt Moore got himself in a tough spot between two players and got inside the defense with no place to go, and the crease ended up being the third player, and Virginia's able to ride the ball right back. It's so typical of Virginia staying on the ride.
Now both teams getting physical, and with it, it looks like a timeout going to come from the High Point coaching staff. Could see where that was headed after two big hits, but Doug, I think that there's few things more exciting in lacrosse than to see a big hit from your goalie like that.
Well, you got a big hit on a big player right there. And again, Matt Moore loves to work tight to the crease. You know, that's something he's always done as a player playing attack. He likes to work inside, and he just got himself in a bad spot right there. You can just see he just had no place to go. And a good closeout by the High Point defense.
But Virginia answers back on the ride just as we expected they would. It is going to be a physical game throughout the remainder of these three quarters.
Now, Coach Torpey recognized on the turnover that his defense was not set, so he called a quick timeout to protect his defense.
While we've got lacrosse action here right now, we have another great women's college basketball doubleheader this coming Thursday night on the ACC network and the ESPN app with Pitt and Miami at 6 o'clock Eastern. But we're featuring the second game between number 18 and Notre Dame and number 11 Georgia Tech. Both are 9-3 in their respective conferences, trailing 12-1 NC State and 11-1 Louisville. Should be a great game and one that you don't want to miss, all on the ACC network. As both teams head back out here, it's been a back-and-forth first quarter. We're starting to see some of the physicality, some of the size from both of these teams come out. What do you think Coach Tiffany's message is to his guys, only leading 2-1 here at home?
Well, I think what he wants to try to do as much as possible is to control the game at his offensive end. Really, if you look at the number of possessions High Point has had, they've taken more shots. They've had longer possessions, and so therefore, I think more than anything else is he would like to get his offense to be a little bit more consistent, because offensively, Virginia's turned the ball over 2 or 3 times and has taken some quick shots, whereas High Point has really done a better job of playing team offense, and they've gotten some good opportunities, and only because Matt Nunes has played so well early that High Point doesn't have more goals.
Fairly even in the shots department as that ball dispossessed from the Virginia Cavaliers. It'll go to High Point. Now they're going to have to set up a clear. Matt Moore tenaciously chasing down his defender along with Xander Dixon. There's Schellenberger trying to get a check. But a loose ball, it's going to be fought hard for. There's Xander Dixon, stays in play.
And this is what Virginia wants. They want to go ahead and create a turnover, and High Point, to their credit, wins the ground ball.
A fortunate break there for the Virginia Cavaliers that a step-down shot wasn't just fired off. It was a dangerous flick from Xander Dixon that gave them the ball back. Next time, you got to think Coach Tiffany's preaching, bury your head and get out of there.
Yeah, both teams have been very effective in what I would consider the transition ride, either off a save or a ground ball. And, both teams have had opportunities to score off of their ride.
Time ticking down to 2 minutes 50 on the shot clock. High Point trying to find an answer to the Cavaliers' last goal to take the lead.
And one thing about High Point, they're an experienced team. They have a lot of juniors and seniors on their team. And again, they've got the experience.
Great check by Saustad. Better save by Nunez on the bounce shot right to the chest.
And another possession on the ground ball.
Now trying to get it again. Nunez with the foot save. The brick wall stands tall and gets it out. A big hit into the crease. They're going to get it from over and back, though. What an electrifying sequence.
Great play right there, knocking the goalie back into the goal. Nunes back in the goal with possession. That's in and out, and a good, clean hit right there. So a really smart play on High Point, just going ahead and forcing a turnover. And again, another extended possession for High Point.
Virginia looking very uncomfortable in this ride, in their clear against the High Point ride. A minute and a half left, and a big opportunity here.
Over and back.
And a great play by Schellenberger there to force the ball across the line.
You got a wet field, and you're going to see some unexpected turnovers at both ends of the field. That's what happened. You get a save and a rebound, and then you get a bad pass and it goes all the way through, and Virginia gains the possession on the over and back.
60 on the game clock, 67 on the shot clock. Virginia trying to find a goal here. There's a flag down on the play. Possession still held. We're going to get a second official whistling, not the flag thrower.
That's where Griffin Schutz used his strength. He was able to go ahead and just get through the check and draws the 30-second hold on High Point. So Virginia getting their second extra man. Not successful on the first one.
It's going to be a 30-second technical on High Point. Let's take a look at it.
You can see right there, the pole just gets up around the head and neck area. Every time, that's going to be a hold call. John Torpy, the High Point coach, not happy with the call.
It'll be Grant Amon serving, the grad student out of Virginia. And now a big opportunity for the Cavaliers. There's the sneak around, high to high, off the frame, doesn't go.
Well, just hit the pipe right there, and unfortunately for Virginia, the angle of the shot goes out toward the side. High Point gets possession on the run out. That's the second extra man that Virginia's not been able to convert.
And with 27 seconds left on the clock as well, not a ball that Virginia wanted to turn over here at the conclusion of the first quarter. Now giving it up on the ride.
Well, again, the ride being so effective, of course, it's a man-up ride for Virginia. And High Point got the ball to the right person and getting to Asher Nolting.
And there's the inside pass, the shot, the goal. And High Point, a little quick stick fake out, sends Nunez one way and the ball the other. Well, 2-2.
That can be considered almost like a man-down goal right there, because again, Virginia was in the transition with their offense, their extra man offense, and High Point was playing man down. And again, you've got, Asher Nolting does what he does so well. You can see he just sees the field, and just a great finish right there.
3 defenders around him, and yet still toes the line of the crease and puts it back in the back of the net. 37 goals off 77 shots.
He found a phenomenal
player.
He found his player that he most depends on is Brandon Maia, who just makes a great job of converting. That's what he does so well. He's so good inside.
And as the first quarter horn sounds, the score 2-2 in a back-to-back battle. The Virginia Cavaliers fighting hard and will continue to throughout the next 3 quarters here in Klockner Stadium. We'll be back with the action.
Newport, Rhode Island, the classic coast. Relive the grandeur of the Gilded Age at Newport's magnificent mansions along famed Bellevue Avenue. Visit discovernewport.org.
Toyota, let's go places.
It was the Virginia Cavaliers, man up and with possession, but with 4 seconds left, turned the ball over, and High Point able to bury one into the back of the net to draw things 2-2. Doug, at the end of the first quarter, what are your takeaways?
Well, you had the extra man situation where Virginia was not able to get the run out, and to the credit to High Point, it looked like they were going to lose the ball in the clear. They got the ball to Asher Nolting, and with 4 seconds, he found Brandon Maia on the backside. That's a combination so far this year as they've produced a lot of goals against Maryland. Obviously, Nunez 1-6, 4 of those feeds to Maia, and he does a tremendous job catching the ball in traffic and finishing and tying it at 2-2.
Edie LaSala going to get that one all by himself and take it down into the box, settle things up for Virginia. It looks like Schellenberger might be getting the lock off as LaSala takes him behind.
LaSala's one of those face-off men who stays in the game. A lot of time with face-off men will win the face-off and give it to their offense and get off. In the case of Pete LaSala, we've seen him score some big goals, particularly in 2 national championship games, and so they're comfortable letting him stay and forcing the face-off man for High Point to have to play defense, and that's something that Virginia uses very effectively. So right now, Colin Hoban is going to have to stay in the game and defend.
Schellenberger fighting hard. There's the feed, the shot. The pass intended for number 24, Peyton Cormier. Didn't get it. It was actually Schutz who ended up with the ball and fired it off.
You don't see a lot of face-off men playing at X, but that's what they have LaSala doing.
And a quick slide there sends LaSala to the ground twice. High Point with the ball again, and Schellenberger trying to create some distraction on the ride.
Coach Tiffany looking for a push right there, didn't get the call.
Moore pops that ball out with a big-time one-handed check. Got to be careful with those one-handed hacks, but it works for him there. Unfortunately, Schellenberger unable to get possession, and now it's High Point settling up.
Yeah, both teams playing a lot of between the lines, a lot of ground balls. Both teams riding so hard, creating some ground ball situations and turnovers. This is the kind of game it's going to be, and of course you add maybe a slippery field. So as much as Virginia works on being a very good riding team, obviously High Point also has confidence in their ride, and they've turned Virginia over at least 2 or 3 times in the first quarter.
Now Asher Nolting trying to go to work on Saustad. It's one-on-one on the weak side.
2 preseason All-Americans going head-to-head.
A great move there. Swim move over the top, and Nunez. How about that? Opposite side, reaches across, a big-time save, and now Virginia staying in it. Shot for a fast break. Moore, there goes across, and picked off. Both goalies getting in on the action, and the back and forth continues. Now in High Point's direction again.
Rizzo takes a shot, Nunes makes the save. On his knees, gets a fast break situation, turn around, Peyton Cormier one-on-one with Parker Green. He makes the save. Great transition across.
Only 2 saves for Parker Green thus far, but you can imagine he's going to be rewinding that one after the game. A fantastic one-on-one play.
Well, so far, High Point percentage of shots on goal, 10 out of 13, an impressive shot percentage, whereas Virginia has not had many shots. They've taken 11 shots and only 4 shots on goal.
And really, Virginia being 2-2 in this game right now could be attributed to Nunez's 8 saves.
You'd have to say after the first quarter, Virginia's the team that's lucky to be tied.
Now setting things up offensively. It's Jeff Connor on the far side of the field with the ball at GLE.
Jeff Connor, again, Virginia's most effective two-way midfielder. He's one of the few midfielders that Virginia uses both to the offense and defensive end. He really helps in the clearing game. And now we're going to see a little bit of a second midfield just because the flow of the game. Virginia really hasn't been able to run midfield units.
With so much back and forth, important to keep legs fresh, only being the second quarter of play. 11:29 remaining. There's the low shot, low goal! Matt Moore fires one off from just short of the restraining line. Low roller, worm burner into the back of the net, using his environment to his advantage.
Well, the shot is going to be the toughest for the goalies, particularly on a grass field, is that low off-stick side shot that hits the ground first. The ball does skip, it's tough to read, and it was perfect placement because it was off-stick side right there. Again, a little bit more time and room than I'm sure Coach Jordan would like to let Matt Moore have, and he was just able to go ahead and plant his feet and drop the stick and be able to put the ball in the roller right-hand corner.
A fantastic goal from Moore, but how about that assist from Schellenberger coming around X, no-look feed right to the top, allows Moore the time and space for that step-down shot. He just buries it in the back of the goal off a field that for 3 hours before this game was getting covered in snow.
First time we've had a violation on Peter Salif, so the first violation, 1 of 3 before a penalty time is served. That's the first face-off that High Point has won. They haven't won one clean at the X. They've been able to only pick up the 1 on the violation.
Meanwhile, Petey LaSala has 6. Now Saustad forced to go to work on GLE again. There's the motion and a big-time save, throws the stick and actually hits it mid-air. Virginia's defense giving Nunez some help.
It's kind of a fortunate situation because a big wind-up from the top and it never got to the goal. Asher Nolding able just to work through the double team.
And how about that? Sticks flying all over the place. Nolding not dispossessed, not even a thought about it. 18 seconds left on the shot clock, burying it around. There's the backhanded shot, doesn't go. Running it down is Virginia, and they'll give it to the Virginia bench erupted with 2 officials pointing white ball. The nearest official gave it to High Point, and it looked like Nolding was trying to be up and running.
Well, the officials are going to now have to give both teams time to substitute because it was a situation where they always say right call, wrong direction. And so the official had the right call, giving it to Virginia, but pointed in the wrong way. And of course, both coaches unhappy with what the call was, but the officials made the correct decision to go ahead and give both teams time to regroup.
Now Virginia moving down with some pace. Saustad almost turned it over in dangerous position on the other end. There's the shot, trail check, pops it over the net, and that one will be heading down to the track below us.
Yeah, Peyton Cormier just kind of a left-hand drive dive coming across the top. Looked like he's coming out. May have gotten dinged up a little bit. Looked like he's maybe a shoulder, but he came driving across the top of the box. And as you said, got double-teamed on a lift check. We're going to see how he is. He's on the sidelines.
He's coming off. Definitely took a hard hit there. There's the screen. Works perfectly. Giving it right back. Virginia with mismatched numbers almost had High Point hung. Instead, they're going to go back to the two-man game at X. Shuts, beats two. There's the shot outside with the left. But Matt Moore there to run it down.
Yeah, this will be a situation where Virginia will have to make a substitution on attack. Looks like right now Patrick McIntosh, number 18, is going to be running in Peyton Cormier's place.
Moore running to goal, though. There's the shot. Buries it low corner. A fantastic play. Drops his defender and picks up a goal. 4-2 Virginia.
Just an isolation dodge for Matt Moore. Comes up right-handed. A spin coming off the dodge. And he's able to go ahead and free his hand. So that's twice he's been able to beat Parker Green off stick side low.
Let's take a look at this play. What gave Virginia possession was that run down made by Mitchell Whalen. After some confusion, Whalen ended up with the ball, and how about this move by Moore? Drops his guy, takes 2 steps for the space, hands high and away. Not much that you could do about that if you're Green in goal.
Well, you always go back to the run out, and it's closest to the ball when it goes out of bounds, and not necessarily who's closest to the sideline, and that's exactly what the official saw. It's that Whalen was closest to the ball when it went out, even though the angle looked like High Point was closer.
Ball inside the box. On Virginia's defensive end, fighting for the ball was Knowlton. He ended up with it. Now Virginia trying for a fast break. Saustad picks it up. Nunez was ready to lay out the wood. And a high hit there, not called on Knowlton, as he took a chop right to the head of Peyton Cormier.
And Noah Chismar takes the big hit as they're still able to get the possession. Chismar has been a nice addition to the Virginia program, a late addition, the short stack midfielder defense from St. Paul School in Baltimore, but he has really found a place on the team as a defensive midfield.
Only a freshman, but a big-time hit to take in the middle of the field. Sets up the Cavalier offensive possession. Swinging it around, there's Connor. Muscle shot off the leg of Green. And in the back of the net, it looks like Xander had it. They're going to call it in the crease on Xander Dixon on his follow-through, not actually on the goal-scoring move. And High Point's going to get a lucky break with that one.
Parker Green makes the initial save on Connor's shot, and Dixon gets the rebound, but his momentum just carries into the crease. And if you're in the crease where the ball goes through the plane, it's going to be a no-goal. And again, the official was very emphatic on the no-goal call. He was in the right spot.
Now High Point, an opportunity to bring in their 2-goal deficit. 7:24 remaining in the first half. 45 on the shot clock. It's Knowlton.
The big swing right now, Will, in the second quarter is the time of possession. Virginia's been able to go ahead and dominate the game more than they were in the first quarter.
A good shot there, broken up by the stick of Cole Kastner, the 200-pound sophomore.
Nice lift check on the shot.
Now Saustad fighting on Knowlton again. They send 2 slides that time. Virginia trying to recover. Almost losing his man in the middle was Whalen. Now it's the Cavaliers that are going to have to send the slide. No 2 slide there, and it's a goal for High Point. Answering back after 2 unanswered.
It's good offense right there, because again, what they were able to do is just isolate the short stick and really put Virginia in a position where they had to go and help. And again, the toughest shot for that goalie. He's just, nice job right there.
And you can see Virginia misses the slide. 6:48 remaining.
I'm a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire.
Crypto is complicated, but as a tax expert with crypto experience, you can hand your taxes off to me. You do your thing, we've got your taxes. Intuit, TurboTax Live.
And my car is dented.
Geico does offer 24/7 claim service.
24/7? That's a lot of attention.
They're not actually with you 24/7. They're just available whenever you need them.
Okay, because I'm an introvert. It's incredibly rare.
I don't think that's right.
Geico.
And the Virginia Cavaliers here in this 2022 season trying to do something that only 2 teams have ever done before, Doug, and that is win 3 consecutive national championships.
Well, it's an unusual sequence, obviously, because of the COVID year with 2019 National Championship and, of course, winning last year. But, so much expectations and being preseason ranked number one, the team has actually embraced that opportunity. They have confidence in. A lot of teams will try to go ahead and maybe not try to make too much of winning a third championship, but this team really believes they can, and that's been the mentality, and it would be a tremendous feat that very few college teams have been able to accomplish.
The only other two programs having done so, as you can see on that graphic, Princeton and Johns Hopkins. Virginia looking to be the third program to join that bunch under head coach Lars Tiffany, as High Point wins that face-off out of the break. And after scoring their last goal, it was number 51, the sophomore Tommy Meehan out of Maryland, that found the back of the net and shifted the tide back in High Point's favor, trying for the step-down shot off the helmet of a Cavalier defender. It'll go out of bounds and stay with the men in black.
And for the first time, Gable Braun took a face-off, for Virginia, obviously to give Pete LaSalle a break. I mean, Virginia fortunate to have two very capable face-off men, but Gable Braun will take some draws, during the course of the game. They have confidence in him.
Virginia almost misses the slide there, but Nunez bails them out, hugging the pipe and standing tall.
Kobe Russell is able to get to the front side and has a chance to maybe put it by Matt Nunez low, but again, Nunez has really showed a lot of confidence. The one thing that's been impressive from both goalies' standpoint is their ability to catch and save and to be able to handle their crease so well, because again, a lot of times, even on a save, a rebound creates another opportunity. Both goalies doing a really good job of being able to catch their saves.
Now it's the Johns Hopkins transfer, Evan Zen, who gives over, swinging it to the other side of the field. It's McIntosh with the left. There's Schellenberger on the invert.
And you can see that they're going to do a quick slide, so Virginia get to what they want, which is Schellenberger on a short stick switch.
Step down shot, wide of the frame. Off its mark, it'll be Moore there on the chase. 26 on the shot clock.
Well, they got Matt Moore up top to be able to be in a position where he can get a step down. That's exactly what they're looking for. So, Schellenberger makes the right decision, just misses the goal, and now again, High Point doing a nice job on defense, gets a takeaway check.
It was a great inside roll, but an even better trail check by Giltinan. Steps up for the High Point defense.
And you can see, even on a save, Virginia running in, trying to get that 10-man ride going. Cole Castor immediately running up to the midfield line, trying to get the 10-man ride set.
Zinn on the ball on the far side of the field. It's Rizzo carrying to X. Trying an invert of their own. They go around, outside, high shot, and it's Saustad trying to run it down, but unable to do so.
All the teams that have taken advantage of the portal, Virginia is the one team that has really had a limited number of portal transfers, and that's the way Coach Tiffany believes he would like to do it. Last year, of course, Charlie Bertrand is huge from Merrimack, a huge addition. And this year, Evans in from Hopkins, a two-way midfielder. Has been, a fifth-year player that's going to, fifth-year graduate or a transfer that's going to help Virginia maybe for 2 years. So nice pickup for Virginia in the portal. Going to get a push right there.
The High Point coaching staff certainly adamant about it. The officials late on the call, but will give the push.
We had Coach Torpy right there to help the official to make sure he didn't miss it. But again, what it does, of course, is create a possession and gives another 60 seconds for High Point to go to the goal. So one of the things that I think that is going to make the game play faster is taking that 20 seconds off. Just much like basketball, 30 to 20. Lacrosse now it's 80 to 60.
Zinn on the defense, no slide coming off the helmet of Chismar. That one looks like it hurt. Ball still loose. Fighting for it. And it's the Cavaliers that come up with possession. Scott Bauer now moving with pace to Evan Zinn. Zinn, the Johns Hopkins transfer, moving down the field to Moore. Fast break opportunity. And he couldn't corral the give and go.
The ball was just, the pass from Matt Moore was just on the wrong side of everything. It wasn't on stick side. Not able to handle it, and Coach Torpy going to call his second time out of the half.
Timeout, High Point.
The St. Pete Clearwater Elite Invitational showcases 16 softball teams with 40 games across the networks of ESPN starting Thursday morning. And we're featuring this game on the ACC Network Saturday. Number 13, Michigan, takes on number 6, Florida State at 1 o'clock Eastern. You can make sure to watch this game and all the others streaming live on the ESPN app. And down 4-3 to the Cavaliers right now. High Point has got to be pleased, but when you look at High Point's strength of schedule, this is what they expect. This is the product that they expect from their team.
You know, Coach Torpy took this program over from its very beginning, and he believes that the competition that he gets in his non-conference schedule gets him ready for the SoCon at the end of the year. Pretty much every year is High Point and Richmond. So far this year, his schedule includes number 1, Virginia, number 2, Maryland, number 3, Duke, and number 6, Carolina, as well as a very competitive conference schedule. So Coach Torpy wants to give his players the kind of competition that you go to play for, which is to play the best.
And, I mean, you want to talk about a hot start in 2 of your 3 first games playing the 2 teams that participated in the 2021 National Championship. Can't get much tougher than that.
Yeah, when I talked to Coach Torpy, he said that's why players want to come to High Point. He said, you know, they may not be recruited by the top schools necessarily with the names, but they get a chance to come to High Point and play against those teams and show that they are at that level, and we're seeing that today, and we've certainly seen that in the 6 games that High Point and Virginia have played so far.
High Point has been demonstrating that they are an elite program and that they have the talent to hang with any of the elite programs here today, trailing by 1, but really most of that can be attributed to the excellent goalkeeping by freshman Nunez.
Well, if you look at the stats so far, I mean, they have outshot Virginia. They put more shots on the cage. Matt Nunes already has 10 saves, whereas Parker Green only has 3. The one statistic that maybe Virginia early dominated was the face-off. Now, High Point has won the last 3.
Virginia going to have to do it on the defensive end first. 60 on the shot clock. There's the one slide, misses. There's the flag and the goal. High Point continues to roll out of the timeout and ties it up 4-4. It's the 160-pound sophomore out of Cornelius, North Carolina, Nick Rizzo.
Well, Nick Rizzo beats 2 Virginia defenders. He comes from behind, beats the short stick, face dives, beats the slide, and then is able to finish. Just a great individual move by Nick Rizzo. And his bonus is he not only scores a goal, but he draws a foul and gives High Point an opportunity to play man up. So that's the perfect situation to be able to score and then draw a 1-minute foul. So we'll see what Virginia does. Gable Braun's going to take the face-off as opposed to Pete LaSalle. This is an important face-off because obviously, you know, whether Gable Braun can get off the field and get Virginia's defensive midfielder on the field or whether he's going to have to retreat, go down and play extra man defense.
When you want to talk about trust, lining Scott Bauer up even with the face-off X, didn't need him to drop back at all. Now he's going to have to hustle as the Cavaliers into a 5-on-4, getting the defensive midi on. Both teams get their subs, and with 45 seconds left on the penalty, it'll be a man-down situation for the Cavaliers.
Yeah, Virginia fortunate they're able to get their one of their co-captains, Grayson Saladay, probably their top defensive midfielder, Gable Braun, able to get off the field, and Virginia to be able to get their 5-man, man-down defense set.
Mitchell Whalen with 27 seconds left in the penalty box. Virginia trying to kill this penalty in the meantime. There's the inside pass, push, save. A great defensive play there by Grayson Salade, as you mentioned, and then a great save by Nunez.
Saladay just gets a little bit of push on Brendan Maia, and again, Nunez just, so close to the crease, just matches sticks. If you can make a save inside on Brendan Maia, you are really making an exceptional save because he's one, as I said before, one of the top finishers in the country. So far, 6 goals in 2 games, including 5 against Maryland in their opener.
And with the penalty killed, they'll go to Schellenberger up top on the invert. 1:33 remaining in the half.
And Virginia still has not used a timeout, so they still have 2. You can't take them to the second half, so we'll see if Coach Stephanie wants to go ahead and call a timeout. A great shot.
Schellenberger doesn't need the timeout. He'll just take the goal. 5-4 Virginia with 1:22 remaining in the first half. And the sophomore making it look easy here at Klockner Stadium today.
Well, what makes Connor Schellenberg so dangerous is he's a true two-handed player. He can come right-handed and left-handed, and he makes perfect move as far as getting one step beyond goal line extended, able to get his stick above the goal line, and he puts the ball in the perfect spot inside the goalie's head, right corner. You can see that, just that good drive right there, creating space and finishing. Big goal for Virginia with 1:22 after killing a penalty.
And you really can't emphasize enough just how quick he is. You could tell watching that replay that as soon as he split left, he had him. A phenomenal attackman at the beginning of his sophomore season. Now he's going to try to get involved on the ride here. 1:07 remaining. Fighting for the ball. Moore deflects the pass. But High Point going to be able to carry this one across with a long pole and get it down to Nolting.
Because High Point doesn't. Offsides right there.
Offsides called on High Point. It will go back to Virginia. Coach Tiffany and the men in white fired up about that with 48 seconds remaining, now leading by 1.
Well, the miscommunication, obviously, for High Point at the midline. The pole carried over, and, of course, you've got to obviously keep one back, and now Virginia will use that. One of those 2 timeouts is 40 seconds.
"40 seconds remaining in the first half of action here, but this Wednesday night, after day 1 at the ACC Swim and Dive Championships, we'll have a men's basketball game as Armando Bacot and the Tar Heels host Pittsburgh at the Dean Smith Center. This one starts at 8 p.m. Eastern on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. A fantastic ACC men's basketball matchup that you will not want to miss. And despite a 1-goal lead for the University of Virginia here, Doug, being outshot by High Point 26-19, and it really comes back to the way that High Point's been able to control possession throughout the first quarter and second quarter of play.
Well, they really have, and if you're Coach Torpy, you have to be very pleased with not only the number of shots, but also the kind of shot. They've taken very good shots, and again, if Menunez wasn't on his game as much as he was in the first half, they've had good looks inside. They've gotten the ball to people that are dangerous. They've gotten a couple nice looks inside to Brandon Maeo. A great move right there by at the last goal for High Point by Rizzo. And again, just because the save situation, big disparity there between High Point with only 3 saves.
And you want to talk about stepping up into some big shoes to fill. Nunez has certainly done so with already 11 saves in the first half.
And both inside and outside. That's been the impressive thing, is he's been able to stop the outside shot and control it, and he's been able to match sticks and make the save inside. Interesting right now, we'll see what High Point does on defense, knowing offensive coordinator Sean Kerwin. He's talked to his offense about what to expect if they go zone and what to expect if they go man-to-man. Looks like right now that High Point's going to match up man for man.
With the whistle blown, time at 30 seconds remaining, 53 on the shot clock, so won't be a concern for the Cavaliers. Schellenberger, who scored the last goal, with the ball. This time carrying to his right. Rolls back to the left, there's the dump, and Xander Dixon with the quick stick. How about that assist, and how about that goal? The Cavaliers lighting it up here in the final minute of play of the first half.
Well, that's a decision that the defense has to make, in a situation, say, late in the quarter, do we go zone or we go man? They chose to go man. They matched up with Connor Schellenberger, and of course what he does is he forces the defense to all turn their heads, and just a real nice off-ball cut by Xander Dixon. He knows where to go, across cage feed, and just a layup for Xander Dixon. So Connor Schellenberger, 1 goal, 1 assist in the last minute.
And the lightest touch possible on that stick from Xander Dixon, just softly receives and sends it right back into the back of the net. The Cavaliers have the ball again with 8 seconds remaining. Thought about a long shot, but instead Coach Tiffany going to call his second timeout. Looks like he is going to use both, Doug.
Well, they always say, you always want to keep one in your pocket, so to speak, and that's what Virginia was able to do. Both situations, they scored goals coming out of timeout. So, you get the 1 goal off the first timeout, and we'll see with 7 seconds, what they're going to be able to do with their second timeout. Again, you have to expect the ball to start with Connor Schellenberger. Some kind of action inside, some pick, some kind of maybe put 2 or 3 inside, try to screen the goalie. But a good use of Virginia's timeouts. And a good win for Gable Braun, winning that face-off clean and getting Virginia the possession.
And we talked about Virginia's activity in the transfer portal. Surprising to not see too much of it because of the amount of talent that they lost following last season.
Well, that's an impressive list of graduates who gave Virginia, 2 national championships and really built the program to where they are right now. You've got certainly Ian Laviano, the outstanding riding and just active, enthusiastic crease man. Charlie Bertrand, the transfer from Merrimack. Doc Aiken, who had a tremendous career, one of the top midfielders in Virginia history. John Fox, a defensive midfielder and a great leader and captain. Jared Connors, who won the midfielder of the year last year, only the second midfielder, long stick midfielder in lacrosse history to be given that award. And then, of course, you got Kyle Kaloji, who was kind of the steady leader of the defense, the senior who gave them so much. And, of course, Alex Rowe, the goalie, who made one of the biggest saves in Virginia history in the Maryland game last year. But Alex had a tremendous career in his time in Virginia. Starting the ball
so far today, Nunez doing a great job stepping into those shoes. 11 saves thus far. Virginia trying to make one here at the very end. There's the pass. The shot was there and off in time, but off its mark. It will be only a 2-goal lead for the Virginia Cavaliers at the end of the first half.
Now they got the look they wanted. Connor Schellenberg, quick face dives coming out. Has a good look to Peyton Cormier, just not able to finish.
But despite that finish, the Cavaliers managed to still find success. And the end of the first half, bearing a goal in the last minute, was Connor Schellenberger, leading 6-4 at the end of...
I'm a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire? I'm a millionaire? I'm not a millionaire.
Crypto is complicated, but as a tax expert with crypto experience, you can hand your taxes off to me. You do your thing, we've got your taxes. Intuit, TurboTax Live.
You and me, partner. Center of town, high noon.
Nope. Daisy's got last one lessons at noon.
High 2 o'clock. That work?
I got a spur fitting at 2 o'clock. How's about 3?
We don't need any more overscheduling, but we could all use more ways to save.
What about Tuesday?
A cold day in Klockner Stadium, however, it has not prevented the action from heating up. The Virginia Cavaliers leading High Point University 6-4 at the end of 30 minutes of play here on the ACC Network. I'm William Fauché, joined alongside Doug Terring. Doug, we couldn't have asked for better action in the first half.
Well, we were prophetic about how competitive this series was, and it's exactly what we thought. High Point got a little bit of a lead in the first quarter, was actually dominating shots and possessions. Virginia has a stronger second quarter, and Connor Schellenberger takes over in the last couple of minutes with a goal and assist to give Virginia a 2-goal lead.
But with the Virginia Cavaliers, it's more often not a matter of if, but a matter of when. Ranked number 1 in the preseason polls, and there is certainly good reason for it.
Well, there's no reason to think that the ACC is the strongest and deepest conference in the country, and to think that Syracuse, who once scored 28 goals just against Holy Cross, would be the 5th-seeded team. But again, the ACC, by far, that I've seen in the early stuff, is so good with Notre Dame, North Carolina, Duke, Virginia, and Syracuse, has to be as competitive a conference as you could ever see.
And I mean, it really goes to show by the number of players are constantly mentioned, constantly honored with various awards.
Well, you've got four players in this game. 3 for Virginia. Petey LaSalle, very unusual for a face-off man to be considered a Tewaaraton. That says something about his talents. And of course, Connor Schellenberger and Matt Moore also being nominated. 11 players out of the ACC are on the preseason watch list.
And it's no surprise that you've heard their names so many times this afternoon. Connor Schellenberger, Matt Moore, 33 goals, 34 assists on 144 shots. A veteran leader on this team, and his experience is the steady hand they need.
Well, we talk about Petey LaSalle, his ability to score goals, not just win faceoffs, and that's why he's on that list, because he's one of the players in the country who can convert a faceoff win to a goal.
11 different players, 3 of them from the University of Virginia, and it really goes to show you how good Lars Tiffany is at recruiting, at player development, and at basically all things lacrosse.
Well, the 3 first-team All-American preseason are on that wartime list from 3 different schools. You've got Chris Gray, the outstanding attackman from North Carolina, Patrick Kavanaugh from Notre Dame, and of course Colin Schellenberger, and you include Matt Moore. So it's an impressive list just from the ACC, and also the names from all the other schools that are on the preseason to wartime list.
A lot of phenomenal talent and a lot of phenomenal talent left to watch today on the field. We will be back with the second half of action after this short...
You and me, partner. Center of town, high noon.
Nope. Daisy's got last one lessons at noon.
High 2 o'clock, that work?
I got a spur fitting at 2 o'clock. How's about 3?
We don't need any more overscheduling, but we could all use more ways to save.
What about Tuesday?
There's a lot that could be said about the new RDX. Could be.
Six to 4, the score here in Charlottesville, Virginia. The Cavaliers leading High Point University on the ACC network. I'm William Fauché with Doug Terring. And Doug, Connor Schellenberger has been putting on an absolute show for his fans here today.
Well, he really has. And again, the plays he's made on the last 2 Virginia goals, the individual effort, scoring a left-handed coming around the goal, and then the big feed to Tanner Dixon that he created off of the dodge. He just forces the defense to have to turn their heads and know where he is. And of course, you got a couple of big goals from Matt Moore. And so again, good distribution for Virginia on the scoring. But the one thing that's been impressing me is the ability that High Point has shown getting to the goal against Virginia. We talked about the shot stats, 26-21, and we talked about both goalies making big saves.
One, of course, the real shining star of this game thus far being Matthew Nunez for the Virginia Cavaliers.
Well, you talk about a first-year goalie playing in his second collegiate game against a very high-powered offense, and he's made, as I said before, he's made all different kinds of saves, from outside, from inside tight to the crease. He took a good hit right there from Brandon Maev, but again, he stood tall when he needed to, and he's made, again, some very big saves in very critical situations against some really outstanding offensive players.
Trying to fill the big shoes of former goalkeeper Alex Rode, Nunez already has 11 saves on the afternoon, and the rest of the stats, well, they tell a pretty interesting story, particularly shots, with High Point winning, yet down 2 goals.
Well, there's 2 stats that stand out for me. One, the shots on goal that the High Point has outshot Virginia 15-9 on the cage with the 11 saves versus 3. But the one stat that I'm sure is concerning Coach Tiffany is turnovers. You always think of Virginia as being a team that is able to turn other teams over. Virginia's turned the ball over 8 times, High Point only 4, and after an early 6-0 run for face-offs, they have kind of evened out a little bit, with Virginia winning 7 of 5.
Virginia going to need to work on getting back into control of possession and face-offs if they want to keep this 2-goal lead. We'll find out.
The hell are you supposed to be?
Vengeance. Vengeance.
Vengeance!
You're becoming quite a celebrity.
This is your legacy, Bruce Wayne. I'm here to unearth the truth. Oh, this guy's hilarious.
Come on, Vengeance. Who are you under there? Are you just hideously scarred?
Yeah.
Batman. Rated PG-13. Experience it in IMAX. Only in theaters March 4th.
And my car is dented.
Geico does offer 24/7 claim service.
24/7? That's a lot of attention.
They're not actually with you 24/7. They're just available whenever you need them.
Okay, because I'm an introvert. It's incredibly rare.
I don't think that's right.
Geico.
"30 minutes remaining in play here in Klockner Stadium in Charlottesville, Virginia, live on the ACC network. It's the Cavaliers who lead High Point University 6-4 after the first half. Despite the Cavaliers trailing in shots 26-21, their shots on goal and in the back of the net put them in front. I'm William Fauché alongside Doug Terring. Doug, you've got to be excited about what's to come in the second half.
Yeah, you really have to look at the way High Point has approached this game. You talk about a team that played a very competitive and overtime game on Friday night against Colgate. You might think they'd be the team that would be a little bit struggling, physically, but they have matched Virginia between the lines, and they forced Virginia into some mistakes. And credit Coach Torpy, again, because of the schedule they play and the way they prepare for top teams in the country. The score is not a surprise at all, I'm sure, to either coaching staff. And this is the kind of game that they expected. And this is the kind of competitive game that you see nationally between two teams that are not in the same conference.
And with 30 minutes left in play, a lot could happen. Virginia trying to hold on to their 2-goal lead after a bit of a breakdown at the end of the first half. Following a Connor Schellenberger goal, they couldn't convert on their second attempt, but it did put them up 2. Now being met tenaciously on defense is Petey LaSala trying to find some open space.
Now, one thing it looks like High Point's going to do, they're going to take the face-off man away from Petey LaSala and jump in with a pole, and Petey LaSala able to control it after some tough pressure. Big save right there by Parker Green. And again, what that does, of course, it gives High Point a chance to get some transition because Virginia's in the middle of making some subs.
Matt Moore bats that ball away. A dangerous opportunity as Green isn't positioned well in cage. Virginia still with a long pole on the field.
Now that's a pass. It's awfully tough to make that cross-field pass between two poles. Takes a little bit longer for the ball to get in the air. And Matt Moore, excellent anticipation, stopped a potential fast break situation for High Point, coming off the save by Parker Green.
That's the second pass he's batted right out of air today. He's got his eye on the ball and his eye on the prize. Xander Dixon with the ball for the Cavaliers, over to Jeff Connor.
Yeah, it's a little discouraging. Your goalie makes a big save, and then you get the ball right back to the offense.
As that shot low and off the stick of Green, given right back to him by a long pole.
Griffin Schutz had the opportunity to finish. He was able to beat his man, came down the middle third, but Parker Green, 2 big saves to start the third quarter. But a bad pass right there puts the ball back on the ground, gives Virginia another chance to clear.
Another broken down clear from High Point. That ball stripped out of the stick.
Well, that was a tough pass right there. You have Peyton Cormier, he's pinned to the sideline, and he's got no place to go, and the High Point defender just making a hard check. So, a little bit of sloppy play from both teams to start the half.
Need to communicate a slide here. We know Nolting will go for it. Despite Saustad being a big guy himself, Nolting, 6'2", 210, definitely sitting with a size advantage at GLE.
The physical play you've talked about, Will, it's been impressive that there really has been very few of any fouls by either team. So a physical game with not a lot of fouls being called. The referees are letting them play.
Particularly with how we've seen them play in between the lines and in transition. There's a physical hit trying to get him out of bounds. Ball kept in play. Now High Point with a potential numbers situation. Jeff Connor trying to help. Good shot, no slide. And out the backside, it will stay with High Point thanks to the rundown of Kobe Russell.
That's a case of one more step, he would have had a better angle.
Russell trying to find a better angle for himself up around the front of the crease, and he'll bury it into the back of the net. High Point answers back at the start of the second half, 6-5.
That's one of those scramble goals where they get a shot, they don't able to convert it, the ball goes in the corner, and the defense, again, not being settled. You get beat right there in the corner, and no slide quick enough to get to Kobe Russell, and he just is able to get inside of Grayson Saladay. No way that Matt Nunez is going to make that save.
And it's those goal line extended slides that have been hurting Virginia so much throughout the course of this game. Seemingly a breakdown of communication, whether the slide should be coming across the crease or adjacent from up top.
Well, that's the offense that High Point likes to run. They like to run the pipe extended dives. They like to drive off a GLE and create those situations, either the cross cage feeds or the drive down the pipe.
And so far, it's what's keeping them in this game, 6-5, trailing by 1. 12 minutes remaining in the third period. And Doug, I'll tell you, the energy coming from the High Point bench right now is palpable compared to a quiet Virginia.
Well, you expect Virginia to be able to maybe pull away just because of the way they've been able to win over the second half the other night, and High Point is again one of those teams that just is not going to give in.
Nolting using his size on the inside roll. The slide comes, puts Nolting on the ground, and now Nunez recovers the ball once again.
Well, Virginia did a nice job of just really pushing Nolting into a spot where he had no place to go. He had to go inside, and the slide came at the right time. And unfortunately, again, Virginia's not able to handle the ball in the clearing game. They get the ball in the box, and they turn around and throw it away.
And how about that slide by Noah Chismar, not the biggest guy, 5'11", 175, going straight into the chest of the 6'2", 210 Nolting, but he certainly made his presence felt. Unfortunate for Virginia to have an unforced turnover, but they force one there. It's Cole Kastner who dispossesses High Point. Now Virginia trying to set up some offense in a settled position. They give to Dixon.
Yeah, both teams have really struggled between the lines in the clearing game. You know, you get that initial save and you get the ball to the restraining line. I think you have an opportunity to clear, and suddenly the middle of the field, both teams do a nice job of turning the other team over. And so, you know, the game right now doesn't have much flow, Will. It seems to be, as I said, you know, sloppy, but also very contested. You got to give credit to the hustle of both teams.
Dixon, the no-look pass, high-to-high shot, goes straight off the stick of Garneau.
And that's Garneau's shot. That's his shot right there, you know, being able to plant his feet, but he's only taken 2 shots, both high, and both saved by Parker Green.
And what's so interesting is that despite the back-and-forth nature of this game, almost every goal that we've seen has come from settled offense. Very few opportunities have actually been converted in true transition play as Virginia sends a double team out and forces a long pass all the way out to Hunter Vines to slow things down.
Yeah, both teams are doing a nice job of recovering out of transition, getting into their defense, getting their matchups, and so that's why, even though it looks like there's space for both teams to be able to get some unsettled 5-on-4 or 6-on-5, both teams able to get in defense and be able to make it a 6-on-6 game.
Resetting their dodge. There's the one move. Chanot slide comes, and he buries it in the back of the net. Worm burner in between the legs of Nunez on a perfect turnaround goal. And High Point draw things even at 6. And Virginia has got to do a better job sending a slide out to number 26, Michael Ippolito.
And that's one of those shots where, you know, Ippolito makes the shot, and you can see, you know, just a little bit late getting down. And we talked about how that 3-quarter release shot tends to, you know, change planes, and the ball just skipped under, stayed low on Matt Nunez. And so that's one of those kind of shots where it's more about the placement than anything else. And now you're going to have a push on Virginia on Gabriel Brown on a face-off, and a face-off win for High Point.
And though you can't see it now, a reminder that before this game for about 4 hours, there was a consistent snowfall over this field. So the field is a little bit damp, a little bit icy. The ball may still be a little bit wet, so it'll slide really well across that grass.
Well, the players are probably warm, and the broadcasters are really cold. So, you know, that's kind of the day it is. It's February Lacrosse, and it's been a well-played game. You know, in some pretty difficult conditions. Again, the snow has stopped, but it's certainly... the temperature's got to have a little impact.
Big great double-team trail check there by Virginia. Has him off to the races. A wraparound is a flag thrown. And it looks like what I would have to venture to be a slash is going to be called on number 55, Braden Maya. And a big-time one-handed hack.
Well, Brandon... Yeah, made a good check on Chismar, but the referee was right there. It looked like just because of the wrap check, he got more body than he did stick.
And you've got to be careful with those one-handed checks. Depending on the officials, they will not be afraid to throw it. It will be a technical.
So it's going to be a hold, not a slash.
So a 30-second penalty. Let's take another look at it here. Tied 6-6. The way possession's been going, every one can count.
And you can see I think a lot of it had to do also with the offhand on the back. So it's a combination of the stick check and the loose ball and the loose hand on the back of Chismar's jersey.
Virginia essentially conceding a goal on their last man up play, trying to get one here. Cormier runs that ball down.
Yeah, Virginia struggled with the man up. They haven't been able to convert.
We saw him get the ball to Garno for that little top step-down shot twice in their first man-up opportunity. Wouldn't be surprised if they go there again. Dixon, good move. There's the shot. Off the foot of Green.
May have hit the pipe. Still a shot. And Dixon took the shot, then runs all the way down, gets the ground ball. So Virginia has a little bit of unsettled coming in to man up.
With it, the penalty will conclude. Under 8 minutes remaining, even at 6s. Both in score and number of players.
That should Virginia's 0-3 on the man up. With that much firepower, you think they would be more effective, but they just haven't been able to get the shot they wanted when they've gotten the Parker Greens come up.
Schellenberger has the defense hung, scored on the last opportunity that this happened. This time goes back to Moore. Inside, little pass just outside the off-hip of Green. A fantastic shot opportunity there.
Good look inside, in traffic to Cormier. Just drops the stick and shoots a little bit wide right.
21 shots by Virginia, still being outshot by High Point, 26-21.
Another big save right there for Parker Green. The officials, one had a push and one had in the crease, and they're going to give it to Virginia on the push. Tanner Dixon trying to just go ahead and just on a quick stick dunk and got pushed from behind. So Virginia fortunate to retain the possession, but again, no goal on the man up.
Now Moore trying to work it around, goes back. Schutz carrying with the left, fighting hard for top side. Open shot, there's Garno, low ball, almost through the 5-hole, but a big-time save by Green, who can't get the clearance and gives it right back to Virginia.
It's hard to keep count, Will, how many turnovers both teams have had in the middle of the field. Either errant passes or situations where the riding team has been able to turn the defense or the clearing team over. So both teams have struggled.
And Green's frustration visible after that one. Slammed his stick on the ground, not happy with how much defense he's had to play at the start of this third quarter.
Well, that pass really was, again, one of those passes where you're trying to get a quick out. You may be trying to clear the ball.
There's the Garno shot. There's the Garno goal. You got the one you were looking for, Doug. Been calling it all day.
Well, he shot the shot that he probably could have shot a couple other times. The first two shots were high, and he went high to high. The third shot went overhand on the bounce shot, but that time the ball was able to bounce up high. You can watch the release, change its great shot right there.
Newport, Rhode Island, the classic coast. Relive the grandeur of the Gilded Age at Newport's magnificent mansions along famed Bellevue Avenue. Visit discovernewport.org.
Virginia coming into the second half. 6:13 remaining in the third period of play, and despite a 2-goal lead for Virginia coming into the second half, it was 2 unanswered from High Point to bring them back even at 6 is a great step-down bouncer there. But Virginia finding a way to answer just before the break. There's the feed from Schellenberger, and Doug, you've been talking about it all day. Garno finally gets that step-down bouncer into the back of the net.
Well, the impressive thing is the way that both teams have distributed their scoring. It hasn't necessarily been, any one player who's dominated. Braden Maillet is so good. Virginia's been able to hold him to 1 goal. Asher Nolting to 2 assists. And Connor Schellenberger just 1 and 1. So both teams have defended in the half field very well, and the goalie play has been exceptional.
Now Schellenberger in the far corner trying to increase this Virginia lead. 60 on the shot clock. Uses the screen, trying to carry with his left. There's the step down with the left and the goal! Firing it into the back of the net is the senior, Jack Simmons. Wide open, nobody there. He said, I'll take this one. And now the Cavaliers lead by 2.
And again, the communication on the defense right there, Connor Schellenberger just kind of drifting a little bit. Didn't seem like there was much there. Jack Simmons, who's on the backside, probably the one midfielder at the High Point, didn't really consider to be the dangerous shooter on that group. As you said, he had so much time and room, just 12 yards, no screen, no defense. I could see Parker Green talking to his defense. He was disappointed with the way they reacted. And again, he's got to be frustrated because he's played so well, and they've had some broken clears and some mistakes on defense.
And it was a miscommunication between the D-mid, Jackson Clay, and the long pole about who would make that slide. Just gave him all the time and room in the world, and now Virginia, controlling the face-off, is going to have a little bit more time on their hand.
This is where Petey DeSala can make a huge difference. It's kind of a situation where you get a lead, you get a goal, and then you're really putting the pressure on the high point face-off men to try to get face-offs back, to create a run. Very difficult to get runs against Virginia because of Petey DeSala.
And particularly with how tenacious the Virginia ride has been all afternoon, it's going to be difficult for High Point to get the ball if they're unable to win the face-off as Moore wraps around and scores! Matt Moore with a little how you doing from up top.
Matt Moore today has played probably more up top than he does behind. He's had 2 goals, one that low shot in the first half, but just a right-hand power sweep. Nice pick right there. Again, that's a defensive communication right there. Jack Simmons sets the pick. Matt Moore is able to go ahead and just rub his man off. No second slide, and he has time and room to be able to shoot on Parker Green.
And you can see why he is a name that is mentioned over and over and over. Again, a 2021 third-team All-American. With an early performance like this season, you got to expect a first-team bid, hopefully, throughout the rest of the season.
Well, his first year was the freshman of the year in the ACC as a midfielder, so he's comfortable playing both from behind as an attackman, which he's been since his first year, but also a strong midfielder coming, out of a great program coached by one of the greatest players in the history of the sport, Frank Urso. So, Matt shows his versatility, being able to handle the dodge from the top, and again, just a strong right-hand burner with, again, another defensive breakdown by High Point.
This time it's Schutz trying his luck. Couldn't get it to go. Xander Dixon fighting hard with the long pole. Plenty of room on the other side. It's Schellenberger trying to run him down, getting some help from Cormier.
That time the cross field pass really worked well for High Point. They were able to go ahead and clear space, make the easy pass across. And when you want to get it to obviously the short stick as quickly as possible, he's able to run it out. First time really, Will, we've seen High Point be able to get much of a possession. The game has gone pretty much Virginia's way in the third quarter.
And it speaks to how important it is for them to capitalize here, if not a goal, a long possession to at least give their defense a break from the formidable Virginia offense.
Ippolito, was an attackman, now a midfielder. Someone they obviously are very comfortable, attacking the short stick.
Kobe Russell now going to goal. He had one just minutes ago. He is swinging it around for the redodge.
Russell has a great change of direction. Not very tall, not very big, but really quick and fearless going inside.
Trying their luck on the other side of the field. They have right hand top side. Here's the step down shot coming down the alley. Potentially hung up as Sawstad fights hard. The inside roll shot saved by Nunez. And despite a leaping effort to get the ball back with Virginia, unable to do so, and it'll stay with High Point. A couple whistles from the officials will give the shot clock violation.
Even though that Nolan got the shot off, he missed the cage. There was no reset, and Virginia's able to turn the ball over on the defense. So now we've got, it looks like a 2 flags, offsides on High Point.
The Virginia bench quick to erupt to grab the attention of the officiating staff. As you said, 2 flags down on the field, 2:33 remaining in the third quarter, and now a free possession for the Cavaliers. Inside look, Xander Dixon just outside with a right-handed shot, but that's the exact idea he was looking for.
Well, they had to send Braden Maia down on defense because of the offsides. Once you're offsides, they just tell you to go. And again, what has hurt High Point in this third quarter has been some defensive breakdowns, and they've really kind of left Parker Green in some tough situations. He's been disappointed with the last two Virginia goals, one by Simmons, one by Moore, both on picks that were not communicated, and they were able to get good looks.
So will be Brandon Maya serving the penalty in the box. 5v6 in favor of Virginia for 30 seconds. Moving it around well. Garneau, step down, offside hip, well-placed shot, but once again, Green rises to the occasion. Ball still loose, and if you're Lars Tiffany, you certainly are looking for a conversion. As Schellenberger comes up with it, they'll try it again. Garneau shoots, Garneau scores! Buries it from up top and walks it off like a pro.
Well, you almost tell by his body language that, that's kind of a frustration goal. It's like, it's about time. But his last shot was a good save by Parker Green off stick side. You can't argue with the opportunities Peter Garneau's got on man up, but he's finally been able to find a space, one on a bounce shot and one on a high hardwood. And you can see the frustration. It has to be awfully tough for a goalie to play as well as he is and then not be rewarded by his defense.
And I mean, I'll tell you, how many times does it feel like we've watched that same exact shot from Garneau today, right in the middle of the field, step down, now buries it twice. But the first successful man-up opportunity the Cavaliers have had, albeit a broken down one.
The way the college game is now, the way the game is officiated, you don't get a lot of man-ups, so you better be able to convert the ones that you do get.
Certainly something that we can expect Coach Tiffany to put an extra amount of emphasis on in practice this upcoming week.
You certainly can't, if you're Virginia's extra man offense and you're Sean Kerwin, you're getting the shot you want, which is Peter Garneau from 12 yards.
Saustad continuing to battle hard with Asher Nolting, but we know how powerful Nolting is, and he shows it off there using all of that 210-pound frame to get one past Saustad, get one past Nunez, and into the back of the net.
It's been a great battle all day, but you don't stop a great player every time. And so Saustad was actually in the right place. I think a little bit of a trail with it, but he tried to get a stick in the front, but Nolting, like you said, because of his strength, was just able to power through. Got a good angle, got above goal line extended, gave himself some extra room to shoot.
And with a player like that, that's one of the shots that Nunez is going to have to become accustomed to brushing off his shoulder and letting go by, as an errant pass there from Petey LaSala sends it out of bounds and gives the ball back to High Point, trailing by 3 with under a minute left in the third quarter.
LaSala wins the face-off, but has to make a backhanded pass to Gourmier and just sails it over his head. And look, Virginia in a little bit of trouble right here. An open goal with a 10-man ride.
Nunez a little bit too ambitious coming out there. Virginia recovers well thanks to their long poles. It was actually Whalen that got a tip on that ball and prevented it, presumably, from going into the back of the net.
Well, with a 10-man ride, the goalie is a big part of that ride, and they have to decide how far they want to go ahead and play the ball outside the goal. And Nunez was almost caught with an empty net.
Now Nolting trying that matchup again. Tries to go over to Kobe. Nobody there for it. And it's Virginia ball. Running over to collect is Quentin Matsui, who we had not heard much from defensively throughout today.
Well, he's been playing on Braden Maio, and that's probably a good thing because, being the kind of player that they're looking for to get inside, the fact that he's done a very good job. And they probably don't have him leaving. Maio is not going to be a dodger with the ball. He's a finisher. So good job by Matsui.
And despite a last-second shot from the Virginia Cavaliers, the score at the end of 3 quarters, 10-7.
I'm a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire? I'm a millionaire? I'm not a millionaire.
Crypto is complicated, but as a tax expert with crypto experience, you can hand your taxes off to me. You do your thing. We've got your taxes. Intuit. TurboTax Live.
Tundra. Toyota. Let's go places.
10-7 the score here in Klockner Stadium on the ACC Network. I'm William Fauché with Doug Terring. Doug, a lot of exciting stuff going on around the ACC.
Well, we've had our first big upset in the top 5 or top 10, so to speak. Jacksonville beats Duke at Duke today. So we now have, the number 3 team losing their first game of the year. And it seems like that's a pattern that Duke always has. They always lose some games early. Maybe get some upsets. They've lost in the past to Air Force. They've lost to High Point. They've always had a way to maybe lose some games. And Coach Nelson seems to like to use that as a motivator. What's interesting, Will, is that the top 3 teams in the SoCon have all played an ACC team in their first games. Jacksonville was Duke. Richmond played Carolina on Friday. And, of course, now High Point playing Virginia. So that has become a good series of a conference between the SoCon and the ACC.
Jeff Connor takes a big hit on that face-off. He was a little bit slow to get up, favoring that right arm a little bit. It looks like he's going to run off the field.
And not a good sign when you're holding your shoulder the way he's holding it.
And that was a big-time loose ball hit,
but
right
a good
on
clean,
the face-off.
A good clean hit.
Definitely. All part of the game.
If you're High Point, you've got to be able to not only score goals, but win face-offs. So, for High Point, it's really critical that if they are able to score, they can win the ball back at the X.
And so far, it's been when the game has been most physical that High Point has seen the most success.
Well, their best chance to win face-offs is maybe not win them clean at the X, but also to try to create some ground ball scrums, and that's exactly why they were able to win this one.
Now trying to create some opportunity. It looked like Nolting was going to bury it in the back of the net, but a big-time stop from Nunez.
I didn't even see where the ball hit Nunez. I thought for sure that Nolting had beaten his man and was able to go ahead. He was so close to the goal.
Nunez is trying to fake us out now. He got bored of saving shots.
Well, it's interesting how the shots and the saves are starting to balance out. Again, now it's 12 saves for Virginia and 11 for Parker Green, which means Virginia 1 has been able to get more shots on the cage. Some of those have been on the extra man. Got Moore with a short operating again from the top.
Moore trying to lower his shoulder, use some of his size, has the ball popped out by a long stick. Now going the other way is Trey Smith. Smith on the fast break with the long pole. He's going to shoot it himself and score! Nunez, not much you could do when he's coming down full head of steam. And it's Trey Parker that buries it. Trey Smith that buries it in the back of the net with the pole.
Well, it started with a pass that just did not connect. Matt Moore tried to fit the ball to Cormier, and he just got in the middle of the passing lane. And goalies will tell you the tough shot to stop is that defenseman's pole coming overhand straight down. And, of course, Virginia did not slide to him. They wanted maybe concerned that he would give it up to an attackman. So that's a huge turnover goal right there.
Let him take the shot, and Virginia paying the price for it, now only leading by 2. A huge face-off for the Cavaliers to try to get control of. It looks to be in the stick of Chismar, however, brought to the ground, still fighting hard for it. It looks like...
What do we got?
There's going to be a whistle, and in Chismar's stick, it was a Lawrence Tiffany timeout for Virginia. So with 12:57 remaining, the Cavaliers will have the ball in the right alley. Will be.
My fingers and I do this to make a living. We're too busy to do taxes.
I love doing taxes for self-employed people. You can hand those off to me.
Yeah, but can I hand them off without using my hands?
We can arrange that. You do your thing. We've got your taxes. Intuit, TurboTax Live.
And my car is dented.
Geico does offer 24/7 claim service.
24/7? That's a lot of attention.
They're not actually with you 24/7. They're just available whenever you need them.
Okay, because I'm an introvert. It's incredibly rare.
I don't think that's right.
Geico.
Back in Charlottesville, Virginia, the Cavaliers leading by 2. Doug, tell us a little bit about what happened here.
Well, High Point scores that goal off of the interception, and then they get a scramble on face-off. It's exactly what High Point would want, which is a contested ground ball coming off the X. And Joey Chismar gets the ground ball on the sideline. Looks like the double team's going to take it away, and Coach Tiffany recognizing how important a possession is. Sometimes you use timeouts to set up plays. In this case, it was to gain and hold a possession.
Particularly with how valuable possessions have felt in this game. It could be a tie turner for the Cavaliers to hold their 2 potentially increased lead. As Garneau carries down with the left, dodging, shooting, looking for that opposite side corner, but Moore's there to pick it up.
First time we've seen Peter Garneau take a run man for man and go to his left hand. This is where Griffin Schutz is so effective working the decks, getting against the short stick matchup, using his size.
Schutz draws the slide, trying to get his head up for a pass. Nobody there. Garno going to get the ground ball all by himself and have it way up high.
Plenty of time for Virginia, still 35 seconds on the shot clock. Fortunate
He's got his man guessing, trying to carry it in.
Down to 20.
Dixon not forcing anything, though. Down the right alley, trying for the 5-hole bounce shot. Off the stick, so fresh shot clock. But in possession of High Point, the High Point staff looking for a slash on that Dixon check. They won't get it now on the ground. Ball loose. Virginia's got it. Nobody in goal. But unable to capitalize, they'll hold it with more and slow things down.
That's one time the field was a factor right there. No place to go, and slips and falls and drops the ball right down in front of the Virginia defense. So Virginia fortunate because, again, Parker Green comes up big on the Dixon shot, coming off the right-hand pipe. And Virginia able to turn another loose ball into a turnover. Both teams high numbers on turnovers today in the riding because of the riding game.
Evan Zinn, the Johns Hopkins transfer, back into the game on offense. Schellenberger looking for him at the top. He was calling for it. There's the dump pass off frame, but a great opportunity from Griffin Schutz.
Just not enough angle. Maybe didn't look and take a shot. Now again, Coach Torpy, same situation. Recognizing his defense needs a break. It's the fourth quarter of their second game.
Excited about the lacrosse action that's going on here, but we're also excited about tomorrow. The tournament, A History of ACC Men's Basketball, continues on the ACC network with episode 3 that highlights 1996 to 1972 at 9 Eastern, followed by episode 4 that breaks down 1973 and 1974. New episodes of the 10-part documentary are available every Monday at 9 and 10 Eastern throughout March 7th. And you can always watch past episodes on the ESPN app. And we talked about him at the beginning of the game, who was the freshman phenom coming into this sophomore season, lighting it up, Connor Schellenberger.
It's so much of what Connor does for his offense. He scores and he feeds, but he also puts so much pressure on a team defense because you have to be aware where he is, and his good vision allows him to find the open man. In that case, Xander Dixon off the crease, a lob up top for a step-in shot. So, again, what Connor does is he lets the game come to him. He doesn't force things. He doesn't usually take bad shots, and so that's what makes him such a great player. Is he can sometimes dominate a game and yet not necessarily dominate the ball. Big possession right here for Virginia. And again, Coach Torpy using one of his timeouts to give his defense a chance to get organized.
A 2-goal lead for Virginia, 25 on the shot clock, 10:51 remaining in the game.
And again, shot clock is winding down, so they didn't, obviously no reset on the timeout. Virginia down to 15 seconds.
Dixon goes to Zinn. Zinn with a short stick, left-handed shot outside, saying no contact, so the shot clock remains at 10.
It's important Virginia gets to the point where they get 2 or 3. Just roll the ball to the corner and set up your ride.
Dixon trying to slash down the middle, couldn't get it. Zinn recovers 2 seconds on the shot clock. He'll have to throw it away to the far sideline. Reset. Virginia unsuccessful on that offensive possession.
We talked about when you get down to within 5 seconds, if you take a shot and the goalie makes a save, you're really giving them almost an easy opportunity. So throw the ball to the corner and ride.
And on that ride, a flag going to be thrown high up in the air as High Point gets it down into their offensive end. They'll have a free possession.
Couldn't see exactly either. It could have been a high hit or maybe an offsides.
Saustad fighting hard against Knowlton right now. Knowlton trying to get a goal off this free possession. Lost. Instead finds his teammate on the other side.
Looking for Braden Maia. They like that backside look between the two of them. That's where They get a lot of their goals. And again, good defense right there by Matsui, just not letting Maia get his hands free.
Now Kobe Russell showing his change of direction. They go over to Hunter Vines.
He's one of their top returning midfielders. A lot of experience in Hunter Vines.
Swinging it around, looking for the backside pass. Now Virginia hung up, and it's up to Saustad to be physical. The inside roll doesn't go. Nunez ends up with the ball.
So he makes a great save.
It out.
Well, we're going to have to remember we had a flag down behind the play, so even though we get the save from Nunez, we're still going to be looking at Virginia playing man down.
Nunez continuing to do a great job of matching the stick up front, not letting any of those high-to-high near shots get past him. But now Virginia's defense going to have to step up and make the play.
You know, both goalies are steady and staying on the stick. In other words, you know, they're not jumping, they're not overcommitting on the shooter, so both goalies doing a nice job of just playing with confidence. Interesting now, both coaches getting together, the officials.
You stay on your bench. You stay on your bench. Don't talk to each other. All right? Okay, well, I get called. I'm going to call. Okay. All right.
Looks like everything's squared away between the two coaching staffs and the officials. It appears to be High Point that has the issue with the penalty.
6.
A slow restart to this man up for High Point, trailing by 2. A monumental possession for them here in a massive opportunity.
Not sure what the official was saying. Obviously, trying to maybe explain. You know, both coaches might have had a question. And good officiating is communication with the coaches, not just with the players on the field. So, big extra man situation for both teams.
High Point trying to find their way to the inside. Virginia's defense rotating well. And a 5-out.
25 seconds on the man up.
Watching that backside sneak along the inside. There's the shot. Nunez the save. 20 seconds left on the penalty, and Virginia's got it with the short stick.
Ippolito had a good look. He actually was using Saustad as a screen, and Nunez able to track the ball.
Evan Zinn trying to get it over to Kastner. Kastner having to hockey the ball, fighting for possession. Zinn decides to throw a body on the loose ground ball. Virginia still doesn't have it, and now High Point, despite the physicality, is on the way with a fast break. There's the give and go, high, low, goal! And High Point manages to capitalize on a tenacious run.
Well, it all started with the broken clear. It didn't look like Virginia was going to be able to beat the extra man with the save. Not able to complete the pass. The ball gets on the ground, and then it becomes 50-50, and High Point wins the 50-50. And there's no way that any goalie is going to stop Braden Maia one-on-one. And what he did so well was he got Matt Nunez to commit first and then buries the shot.
And how about this little back and forth between Nolting and Maia? Does a great job faking the keeper all the time in the world, and it almost felt like a too many cooks in the kitchen situation. About a 4-on-1 coming down in favor of High Point. But finding the back of the net, they bring this within 1. 8 minutes remaining. Trailing down the number 1 of Virginia Cavaliers.
Big face-off win for Peter LaSalle for Virginia. You know, Virginia, the one thing Virginia can't do with this much time, they can't play conservative. They got to keep playing as if they want to attack the goal.
And a tricky pass there by LaSalle, slow to get up. He was looking for a push from behind, did not get it. But Virginia will have possession. 53 on the shot clock, 7:30 on the game clock. It's Schellenberger taking behind to set up the two-man game. He's got LaSalle with him. Inside, low to high, sails over the crossbar of the goal for Peyton Cormier.
He's had some good looks. He just hasn't been able to convert. He's had a couple situations where he's been able to get open inside and just throwing the ball just a couple times over the cage. Again, it's just a nice look by Schellenberger, drawing the slide.
Now Dixon carrying around X. Nobody on him, low to high, no look, shot, goal, and Virginia answers back with one of their own. Xander Dixon does it with style.
Well, Xander Dixon beat the pole. I mean, he's the midfielder that High Point thinks needs to get the long stick. And usually in that case is the defense doesn't slide to their pole, and that's exactly what happened. Dixon just beats his man, one-on-one. He's just able to go ahead and turn the corner. As you can see, no one came to help. And, that's a tough situation, again, because when you are isolated as a pole, and that's what happened to P.J. Peters, there wasn't help coming, and Xander Dixon was able to get above goal line extended.
And it didn't even feel like Green was expecting that shot from Dixon as he came up so high around, just whips it around, and now LaSala doing his part with the face-off win.
Yeah.
Loose ball, Virginia going to have to fight for it. They do, and it gets into the box. Still charging down. High shot over the goal, tripped up.
Well, unfortunately for Chismar, he goes down. Nobody picked him up. He carries to the goal and then steps in the crease. So even though Virginia won the faceoff, now they turn it over because Chismar runs through the crease.
The precarious situation that Virginia now has to deal with. 6.5 minutes, only up by 2. Have to balance pace with patience. As a high ball and unforced turnover comes right back to Virginia, but a strong check by Maya. Appears that it'll get it back to High Point.
Yeah, you get the right play right there by Matsui on the sideline, and Maya comes back and takes it away. So, again, the theme of the game, Will, has certainly been half clears rather than full clears. And again, credit to both teams with their ride, but some decision making on the passes have certainly helped turn the ball over.
Jack Peel fighting hard at GLE. Now it's Sawstad. This is a matchup that has been back and forth all throughout the afternoon and evening. High Point now trying to swing it around. It's Kobe Russell. Russell defended incredibly well. Now down on the ground, ball loose. And then the defense of Noah Chismar there as the ball's still loose. A lower the shoulder hit will draw the flag. Virginia going to look to come up with it for a chance at a free possession. And they will. Moore has it. And now a whistle.
You got a high hit at the midline, an extended ground ball, and let's see what we've got here. Obviously, they killed the play.
And it was the downfield official that first whistled to stop play. The two officials at midfield meeting now to discuss what the penalty was.
No. Hey, you had 7. That's what we had. You had
Peter
7-4. That's what we had. We all wanted to. Yeah, you're all
clean things up at the table and explain to both coaches what we got.
6-0, legal body check.
Legal body check, which was certainly the expected call on that big-time hit at midfield.
Hey, you got to get tight.
Of course, it seemed like an extended play, but once the flag goes down, as long as there's no possession or the ball gets stopped, the play continues with the flag down. So it took a long time for the foul to actually be administered. And another man-up opportunity for Virginia. One place that Virginia has struggled today is in their man-up.
And if Coach Tiffany has been looking at conversion from their man-up offense, he could certainly use one now. Only leading by 2 with 5 minutes remaining. 38 left on the penalty. It's Schellenberger being pressed out hard. Trying to keep the ball out of his hands, this time swinging it around.
Now we have a moving pick on Virginia, so I think that's maybe Virginia's converted maybe 1 or 2 of 6 or 7 man-up opportunities. That has certainly helped keep High Point in the game is the lack of success on man-up for Virginia.
Now with the ball, they're going to look to kill the last 13 seconds of this penalty.
And this sometimes, is when teams are, and again, that's where the field made a difference right there, just not able to keep his feet. And Coach Torpy forced to call a timeout.
And a great possession timeout, just like we saw from Coach Tiffany as he was getting eaten alive by number 39 Cavalier defender Cole Kastner.
Yeah, you get the ball to your top midfielder, Hunter Vines, and we've seen where the field has been a factor at times where the unexpected slip results in a turnover.
We have another great women's college basketball doubleheader this Thursday night on the ACC Network and the ESPN app with Pitt and Miami at 6 Eastern. But our featured game is the second of two matchups between number 18 Notre Dame and number 11 Georgia Tech. Both find themselves at 9-3 in the conference, trailing behind 12-1 NC State and 11-1 Louisville. Should be a great game and one that you will not want to miss. 4:27 remaining here in the fourth quarter. Virginia leads by 2, coming off of the High Point timeout. And let's take a look at the numbers from today's game, Doug.
Well, you've got Matt Moore with 3 goals, Ippolito with 2 goals on 4 shots. You know, the clearing game for both teams, you know, maybe not the percentages that you would hope, 19 to 25, which means 6 failed clears for High Point, and 16 out of 20, which means 4 failed clears for Virginia. But it seems like the ball's been on the ground more, even though they've been successful clears. There's been times where teams have thrown the ball away and then been able to get it back, and it ends up counting as a clear. But the riding from both teams has been, tremendous, because so much about riding is hustle, and both attacks in particular have been very effective, creating some bad passes and putting the ball on the ground.
The most significant number in my eyes from that graphic being the little number 1 next to Virginia. You are seeing an unranked High Point team come into Charlottesville, Virginia, into Klockner Stadium, into Lars Tiffany's home, and fight hard to a 2-goal deficit with 4:27 remaining and the ball against the number 1 team in the nation.
Well, High Point's won 2 games in the 6-game series, and both of them were here, and both were 1-goal games, one in overtime. And obviously from the Jacksonville-Duke result, the Southern Conference and the ACC are very competitive. It's been that way every year, and that's a credit to the Southern Conference for playing the quality of schedule that they play.
The Southern Conference trying to pick up another win against an ACC program today. Asher Nolting doing his part as he buries one through the 5-hole and brings the deficit to 1.
At key times, you go to your stars, and that's exactly what High Point did. They came out of the timeout and go right to Asher Nolting. And it looks like we're going to get a stick check right here. But, not sure whether it was called for, Virginia, or the officials made the choice themselves. But it's unusual for them to grab a stick after a goal. They're going to check the pocket. They're going to check the width at the top of the stick, and they're going to check the strings. Looks like the stick is considered to be legal, no impact. You can have anything between a 1 and a 3-minute penalty. It's in the rules. You can certainly request a stick check.
Asher Nolting certainly happy to find his stick in regulation there. Up to a 3-minute penalty, as you mentioned, would be detrimental for this High Point offense that's trying to build on momentum. Petey LaSala continues to shut it down at the face-off X, though. Now he's going to carry it down. Smart to not take a shot with the defender on his shoulder. He'll go to Schellenberger, and with 3:52 up 1, the Cavaliers are going to bring up Connor Schellenberger on the invert.
That's I believe 3 times in a row where after a goal is scored, Petey LaSala's won the ensuing face-off or the next face-off. So that's been a big momentum opportunity for Virginia, but credit High Point, they haven't lost the situation where they've been able to get within a goal. And right now you can see Virginia playing the hangman, keeping the pole in, playing 5 against 6, and Whalen's going to stay in the game.
Schellenberger goes back to Schutz. Schutz now 1-on-1 at X. Tried to go to Cormier. Cormier wasn't expecting the pass. Now High Point with the ball and off to the races. Moore going to have to follow him in an attempt to apply some pressure. And now coming down the field once more was Trey Smith, and Virginia certainly not going to let him shoot this time. And the shot from Asher Nolting sails over the goal, and High Point going to have to do it in settled offense.
Right, a little bit of a force right there. Schutz trying to get it inside to Cormier. And because of the turnover, for Virginia, fortunate that Nolting didn't have a better shot on cage.
And a great heads-up play there by Matt Moore to keep running down the field and apply that pressure in the mid to disrupt them.
And that's where his midfield experience came in handy. Now we've got 2.5 minutes left in a 1-goal game.
High Point working around to X. Trying to create some room on GLE. Virginia look ready to send the slide early. Particularly with the short stick on ball.
Nice defense there by Grayson Saladay.
Now the matchup we've been waiting for. Kate Sawstad tries to go inside. High shot, low shot, saved by Nunez.
Well, that was the look that you would want if you're High Point. You go inside the Braden Maia. He had even a little bit of a stick fake before he shot. And Nunez comes up with a big punch save.
15 saves on the day for the goalkeeper in white. And with time under 2 minutes, the ball with the Virginia Cavaliers.
And if you're Virginia, you're not going to call a timeout. You want that clock to keep running. Don't want to give High Point a chance to set their defense coming out of a timeout. But you got to get a shot.
50 on the shot clock. Dixon with the ball being met high. "50-second differential between shot and game clock. They go up to Schutz. Schutz has handled the ball with care all day.
A lot of confidence in that top-rated freshman recruit, Griffin Schutz from Trumbull, Connecticut.
6'3", 220. He's got the size to do it. And with a short stick on him, you've got to hope he can hold on. Now he's making his move with the left. Low shot. Doesn't go. Doesn't make contact. And out of bounds with 7 left on the shot clock. 58 seconds remaining on the game clock.
It's all up to Schellenberger now.
There's the shot into the stick of green. A fresh shot clock in 51 seconds. It's High Point with the ball. Moore going to try to be aggressive on this ride as he has been all day.
Trying to get the 20-second violation right there.
Virginia continuing to be disruptive, forcing Green across the midfield line. And a bounce pass swatted to the ground. Nobody's had it except Green.
Got to get in the box. Got to get in the box to call timeout.
An opportunity to do so here, running in on the fast break defense. There's the shot. Nunez with the save. Bounced over the goal. Out of bounds. It'll stay with High Point in the crease. Nunez makes the save, forces him in the crease, and now Virginia's got the ball.
Dick Rizzo with a great opportunity. Just again, momentum carries him right in the crease. Everything that High Point would want. And Nunez comes with a huge save.
And look at the electricity out of the freshman keeper. Nunez makes a big-time play.
Well, it all started at the other end of the field, and give Parker Green credit. He carries the ball all the way across the midline, comes across, picks up a ground ball, actually creates the opportunity for the fast break, but you can see the save right there, going down to his knees and yet able to go ahead and get his stick on the shot. And now, of course, the momentum of carrying the ball in the crease of Virginia with 19 seconds doesn't really even have to clear the ball. I'm sure they'll want to get the ball down there, but you don't want to necessarily just throw a long pass that could give High Point another possession.
And the freshman goalie has made a lot of impressive plays today. A foot save. He's matched sticks on a multitude of occasions, but that one right there might be the icing on the cake. In only his second game as a Virginia Cavalier, as a Division I lacrosse player, he's already tallied 16 saves.
Last week his defense carried him. We didn't really put him in a position where he had to make any key saves. Today he's had to make a number of key saves, some from turnovers, some situations where High Point has made good plays, at their end of the field. Both goalies have been outstanding, but that was a key save right there. And, of course, the big part of that was that High Point would have gotten the ball off the shot, but then they came and violated in the crease. So for High Point, the worst combination of situations where you don't score and then you lose the ball with 19 seconds to go in the game.
Now for Virginia, 19 seconds left. As you said, you don't have to clear the ball, and you have the Gilman in your pocket.
Well, it's
right
interesting.
Now,
you got 20 seconds to clear it. You have 19 in the game. So essentially, the clock is in your favor as long as you don't turn it over. And they're going to give the ball to Grayson Saladay. And right away, you can see Asher Nolding and Braden Maia going over to double team.
And watch for a cut to the ball right there from number 49, Jack Peel. Try to get the ball to a short stick early. He's got a lot of space in front of him. Now it's up to Sawstad to Leggett. He goes back. Nunez with the ball. All the space in the world. They're going to have to come to him with the clock under 5. He'll launch it downfield towards the goal. Off its mark, but the final horn will sound. And at the end of 4 quarters, the Virginia Cavaliers, best high point in a nail-biter.
And the series continues between these two schools. Believe it or not, this is the lowest scoring game of the 6 previous games. But both teams come away with a lot to work on, but also have to feel very good about the effort they got from their teams. You know, if you're Coach Torpy, your team came in having played a game on Friday, a 1-goal game against Colgate, a tremendous effort on their part. They have to be disappointed in many ways because they had plenty of opportunities to win the game. But credit Virginia, credit Matt Nunez for just an outstanding effort. If Virginia goes 2-0 in the early season.
And how about the attackmen that we mentioned at the beginning of the game, the combination of Schellenberger and Moore